The New York Mets are so back. Another signature win at Citi Field. The kids are coming up clutch. Pete Alonso is homering in every game, and Francisco Lindor hits a walk-off against his former team. What a night. Here's a little bonus edition of Locked On Mets.
You are Locked On Mets, your daily New York Mets podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello to all you amazing Mets fans. You're watching Locked On Mets, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your host, Ryan Finkelstein. If you want to find any of my work, follow me on Twitter, Finkelstein Ryan. You can also find some of my writing at justbaseball.com, where I work as the managing editor. Now, on the last show, I told you that it was probably the last you'd hear from me until Monday, unless the Mets do something crazy on Friday night that I have to talk about. And I think what we just watched would qualify as a crazy game that has to be discussed. What a performance from this Mets team that has finally figured it out, and they found a new identity. It's the baby Mets. Francisco Lindor told us after the game they call them the babies. The baby Mets completely turned this game around for them, okay? Early, you're losing 5-0, okay? The Mets team that we've been watching for the last couple of weeks would have folded, but you had the baby Mets, and you have Francisco Alvarez, who comes up in the 5th inning and hits a home run for you. And all of a sudden, the momentum starts changing. And here's the crazy thing. It wasn't just the baby Mets, but when the baby Mets have a home run here, a home run there, a clutch hit, a walk, whatever it is, you're finally getting production from some of those spots that where you were getting nothing from earlier in the season. And all of a sudden, some of that pressure is alleviated from Pete Alonso and Francisco Lindor because, hey, look, Francisco Alvarez and Baty can both hit home runs too. And so now maybe the pressure's off a little more, and guess what? They start to contribute more as well, and suddenly the entire lineup starts to get back to that pass the baton, always can come back feel that they had last season when they won 101 games. All of a sudden, I was on shows earlier this week, and I was saying, I don't think the Mets can contend with the Braves anymore. I'll change my tune on that immediately. Yes, this team's only 500 now. They're 23-23. But the vibes have changed. And look, we're going to get to it in a little bit about, Scherzer and Verlander. Now you got an opportunity for your aces to show up big, and maybe you finish this week really, really strong on a 5-game winning streak. That's in the cards for this Mets team, and it starts with the baby Mets just changing the construction of the team, obviously with the lineup, but just the energy and bringing that energy. And I'll say something about Francisco Alvarez, who did start it with that home run in the 5th. That man plays hard. He is doing his best behind the plate. He almost beat out a grounder today. I mean, hustles down the line, takes hacks. And I don't see how, with the way he has matured and grown in such a short time, how you could pull the ripcord on him for Gary Sanchez, Tomas Nido, or even Omar Narvaez. I feel like he's earning this starting catching job for not just this season, for the next decade. So, anyway, he starts it off. Francisco Lindor doubles. This is in the 5th. He comes around on a Jeff McNeil base hit. You cut it to 5-2. 6th inning, Brett Baty homers. So now all of a sudden, 5-3. And one thing I'll note, I believe a podcast host, I think he might host Locked On Mets, had a bold predictions podcast before the season started where I think he said that the Mets rookies would hit 40 home runs this season. Well, you got 5 from Alvarez, 4 from Baty, 1 from Vientos, quarter of the way there. And you're at a quarter of the way through the season, and these guys weren't even in the lineup. Maybe I was wrong. Maybe it's closer to 50 the way they're playing. Who knows? But just something to continue to monitor. Now, the Mets, the bullpen is still taxed. You got Leone out there. You got Nogasek. You got Hunter, who did get out of the jam. But the bottom line is They weren't quite caught up. Buck's trying to get through the game. His late inning relievers are taxed, and all of a sudden, that deficit falls again. The Mets give up 2, top of the 7th. You're now once again in a 4-run hole. But the last couple innings, you're able to score a run. So suddenly, that lineup's feeling a little bit looser. Everyone's going to the box thinking, all right, we can do damage. We can come back quick. We can put runs on the board. And you get Pete Alonso, who's looking like a damn MVP right now, homering in the last 4 games. Coming up, absolutely massive. He had Nimmo on first, Nimmo on third. He led things off with a walk. Lindor got a hit. Jeff McNeil walks. Pete Alonso comes up in a big spot. Has a great at-bat. Gets himself into a hitter's count. Gets a fastball. Waits on it. Right center. Hits a grand slam. And there you go. Your Mets right back in the game. They tie it. Now, this thing ends up going into extra innings. Adam Ottavino, solid in the 8th. Robertson in the 9th with some great defense behind him. Jeff McNeil making a backhand play. Pete Alonso making a diving play. You had earlier in the game Nimmo with the double play because the Guardians were also making mistakes and some terrible base running. That's the other thing too. When the momentum starts to turn, sometimes the other team is making those errors that they weren't before that are putting you in a position to capitalize. And the Mets are capitalizing on all of them right now. So, again, you get through 9, you go into extras. Drew Smith comes on, and he's unable to get out of it, gives up a 2-run homer. So, all of a sudden, once again, you're in a hole. But this Mets team, no quitting them. And, again, baby Mets. Starling Marte flies out to lead things off. Brett Baty was on second base as the ghost runner. Mark Vientos, first pitch hunting, doesn't try to do too much, just hits a really hard ground ball up the middle. There you go. Right there, Baty scores, that much closer. Then, shout out to Buck Showalter, incredible managerial decision. Didn't see this one coming. Eduardo Escobar, pinch runner. And he steals second. Granted, if it was a good throw, easily would have been gunned down. The entire game is different. But again, when the momentum goes onto your side, you have a situation where the shortstop that you traded to the Guardians, who's a bad shortstop, Ahmed Rosario, not only does he not pick it, he doesn't even get in front of it. And there you go. There's second base for you. You got him in scoring position. Daniel Vogelback comes up. That's going to be a discussion we'll get to in the next segment because he looks awful at the plate right now. He strikes out. But baby Mets, you got another one waiting for you right on deck. Another baby Met strolls up. Francisco Alvarez, clutch hit in an 0-2 count with 2 outs. This guy's got clutch gene written all over him the way he's playing lately. He gets a knock. Escobar scores. Alvarez to second. Tie ball game again. Okay? And then what happens? You had the veterans come through. Brandon Nimmo hits a ground ball in the hole, put the ball in play, something good will happen. Ahmed Rosario fields it. Almost loses the game for the Guardians because he makes a ridiculous throw to first base. But first baseman came up, cut it off. That extended the game for Lindor to be the one to end it because it was fitting, right? No one should have ended that game but Francisco Lindor playing against his former team for the first time. And what does he do? Hits a ground ball in between Andres Gimenez and Ahmed Rosario. The 2 guys, the Mets traded to get him. Mets walk it off. That's why you want superstars. That's why you don't just settle for Andres Gimenez maybe being the shortstop of the future. No. You get the sure thing, the $341 million man. And you win big baseball games like that. Mets, massive victory. I want to discuss where this team continues to go from here when it comes to getting the baby Mets into the lineup all the time. When you have guys like Vogelback taking at bats like that. I also want, of course, just broach the fact that Pete Alonso is looking like a damn MVP. We're going to get to all that in a minute. Before we do, though, today's episode is brought to you by Sorare. Our new sponsor, Sorare, is a revolutionary fantasy baseball game and marketplace transforming fans into owners with officially licensed digital cards featuring players from across all 30 teams. Unlike other fantasy baseball platforms, Sorare managers truly own their fantasy experience collecting, buying, selling, and competing with player cards against global opponents to win epic rewards. Win or lose, you still own your cards. There's no cost to play. Plus, the more you win, the more you advance collecting increasingly powerful cards and accessing next-level competitions and rewards. These are rewards such as Sorare scarcity cards, game tickets, merchandise, signed jerseys, and VIP experiences like meeting MLB stars. Prizes may vary depending on the competition. Head to sorare.com/lockedon. That's spelled SORARE.com. To draft your team of free player cards, set up your lineup, and start competing today to win epic rewards. Again, that is sorare.com/lockedon to start playing today. The Mets play the Guardians at 4:10 Eastern Time today. Catch every pitch of the Mets' hometown broadcast with Sirius XM on the SXM app. Just search Mets. Now, what a game from this lineup. To see them start to come together and find an identity behind the baby Mets is something that hopefully will take this season and really turn it on a dime quickly. And it already has, but you got to keep the momentum rolling. And I think that's where you wonder, how are they going to juggle such a deep and talented team? Because you look at a bench that has a lot of the guys that were starting last year now. Got Eduardo Escobar, got Daniel Vogelback potentially. You got Tommy Pham you brought in. We'll see how long he's with the team. And, of course, your backup catcher. How do you juggle all the pieces and make them fit? Here's the thing. The lineup we saw tonight, to me, is the best lineup the Mets can put out. Top to bottom, that is what they should go with moving forward. Okay, you look at how it performed. Okay, you have Brandon Nimmo 1 for 5, scored a run, drew a walk. Francisco Lindor 3 for 6, 2 runs scored, RBI. Jeff McNeil felt like he did a lot more, 1 for 4 with a walk, run, RBI, but great defense too throughout the game. Pete Alonso only 1 for 5, but the one really counted, the grand slam. Baty 2 for 5, Marte 0 for 4, Vientos 1 for 4, big hit late. Escobar came in the game as a pinch runner. Cano was 1 for 4, yes. And then you get to Alvarez, 2 for 4, 2 runs, 2 RBIs with the homer. I like that lineup, okay? I think the one hole in that lineup, well, there's 2 right now because Starling Marte is not playing well. You think Marte will eventually turn a corner, and you hope that Cano will. But those are kind of the last places where you might say, all right, maybe there's a hole there. And who knows, maybe at some point Ronnie Mauricio comes out to play second and Jeff McNeil's in the outfield every day. That's certainly a possibility. But we know Buck Showalter's going to mix and match. We know he's going to try to get everyone time. And you know that Daniel Vogelback's just not going to waste away on the bench and not play at all. He's still going to get some DH run. And here's the thing. You need him to play so that he can break out of this slump. But as he continues to slump, you don't want to have a Vientos that's seeing the ball great sitting on the bench. It's why I was campaigning for the Mets to do something with Vogelback. Okay? It's why I, last year, was campaigning for Vientos over J.D. Davis. I feel like he needs to be your everyday DH, but I don't know if he's going to get that opportunity right away. So you're going to have to deal with not seeing him at times. But that's the best lineup the Mets can put out there because it keeps Brett Baty at third. And Brett Baty is a really good defensive third baseman. And Mark Vientos is not going to be good over there. So the best offensive lineup would probably be to put Baty in left, Vientos at third. But defensively, you're going to take a hit by doing that. And really in 2 positions, because even though I think Brett Baty's probably going to be fine in left field when they play him out there, I don't know if he's necessarily, we certainly want to upgrade. I imagine he's either as good at Canner, it's a wash. I will say his arm's got to be better. Mark Canner's arm out there, not great. So I don't know. We'll see how it all shakes out. But this team constructed this way with Baty batting 5th. I love that front 5. With Nimmo, Lindor batting second now, McNeil third, Alonso fourth. It's what I've been asking for a while now, dating back to last year. And now you have Baty giving Alonso legitimate protection. And what does that do for him? He's been homering almost every game. It's not just because he's got Baty behind him, but it does help. And man, he is on a tear right now. Pete Alonso, if the Mets win the division this year, Pete Alonso is going to be at least top 3 MVP. That's another little bold prediction for you right now. If the Mets win the NL East, it's because Pete Alonso is at least top 3, and honestly, it's probably because he wins the damn award. Because he's going to have to continue to put the team on his back, and he's showing that he's capable of having a season where he hits 50 home runs and leads this team day in, day out. So, love what I saw there. Now, can the Aces close this thing out? It's the last thing that we'll discuss. Before we do, though, today's episode is brought to you by Birddogs. You know you want to try the most comfortable shorts ever. When I was watching the game with my dad tonight, what did I have on? My Birddogs, okay? Because you can wear them in the house. They're comfortable. But also, I was out before that running some errands. I look good, okay? Because it's a good fit. They're versatile. Wear them wherever you want to. And I can't get over the comfort. So if you want to try Birddogs, go to birddogs.com/LockedOnMLB. Use the promo code LockedOnMLB, and they're going to throw in a free Yeti tumbler with every order. Again, that's birddogs.com/LockedOnMLB. So going into this series, the game on Friday night was probably the one we all circled and said, I don't know if they're going to grab that one. Because they got Carlos Carrasco coming off an injury. He's got an ERA over 8 this season going into the start, still there. You just thought, okay, this is going to be the one where the bats are going to have to win it for you. And they did. Now guess what? You got Max Scherzer, Justin Verlander to close out this series. And that is so important because if this team is really going to go on a run here, they need that continuity in the rotation to start to carry over series. And they need their aces to pitch like aces. And now it's all lined up. It's lined up the way you would have wanted it to back on opening day. Scherzer, Verlander, Senga. It's your next 3 starters. And there's every chance you can win all those games. And to close out this week with a sweep of the Guardians and a 5-game winning streak, because Scherzer and Verlander pitched like aces, we're going to be back on Monday saying, oh, wait, okay, yes, the Mets are a great baseball team. They need to see it from the aces still. That's the missing component. As much as I can rah-rah about the baby Mets all day, and the fact that this lineup is clicking at the right time, they're finally starting to look like a team that can go on and win series after series after series offensively. But they still had a pitcher give up 5 runs today, and they still had to cobble together those middle innings, and their bullpen is taxed. The Mets need a Scherzer game where he goes up and he's attacking hitters and he's getting weak contact and he's pitching into the 8th inning. They need that type of performance from Max Scherzer, from Justin Verlander. And if they get it, again, it's going to change even further how we think about this Mets team. So we'll see if they're up to the task. I'm certainly hoping they are. And I'll be back on Monday to discuss it all. And one last note for all you everydayers, because there is nothing better to me. There's nothing I appreciate more than those of you who take the time every day to listen to the show. I want to give a shout out to a special everydayer because my mom is a teacher. She is the best teacher in the world. That's not just favoritism coming from me. I'm telling you, she is the best teacher out there. And one of her students came up to her the other day and was wearing a Mets shirt. And so my mom asked her about it, and she says, yeah, well, my dad is a massive Mets fan. My mom asked, does he ever listen to podcasts by any chance? And the girl goes, he just loves this show, Locked On Mets, and he listens every day. He absolutely loves this show. He talks about it all the time. My mom kind of was like, well, you realize that, my name's Finkelstein, who hosts the show of Finkelstein. And it clicked for the little girl. She told her dad was really excited about it. So shout out to Daniela's dad. And this is a test if you're a real everydayer. Because I imagine if you're a real everydayer, this is going to come back to me through my mom that you heard it. So shout out to you and shout out to all you everydayers. I'll be back on Monday. Make sure you file, rate, and review wherever you get your podcast. Make sure you follow me on Twitter, Finkelstein Ryan. Follow the show at Locked On Mets.